Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. If you haven't seen it before, I don't get a lot of hits on my long videos, but I'm going to go right into it on this one. This is about gaslighting. I was told at a meeting last week, right before our court hearing, that I was gaslighting my ex, and I can see definitely where she may have. One of the things that I said or did was I don't want to say a symptom, but a, a thing for a trigger, what have you, for gaslighting. But it was just a one-time thing. Anyway, I want to go over it. I want to go over gaslighting. If you're looking this up, you've probably already seen videos on it. You've probably already looked up other videos on it. This is my perspective. I'm going to go over over the years in my relationship, which was about 18 years for the most part. Uh, Things that could be considered gaslighting, and then I want to go through and say, did I do this? Do I think that I did this? Did she possibly do it? Um, in the end, you'll find I don't really think that either one of us were. Well, I can't say for her, but I think definitely for me, I wasn't doing anything on purpose. The things that I did do were reactive, probably, and that is a problem. This is all stuff that I want to work on. This is why I'm making the videos. It may help you, it may not. You may be questioning whether was I gaslighting someone or not. Chances are you weren't, if you aren't even sure you were. Um, but some of these things on here, you'll see that you'll think, if you're not the type of person, then you'll see it and go, "That's disgusting." So anyway, the first thing on my list, generally lying about things, about anything really. Just a lot of times it could be something small, like I mean, people that tend to lie um, in certain ways, they can't help it. So I never really lied about anything other than little things like a surprise gift, or maybe this is for a lot of men, coming from a lot of men probably. I would hide my own sadness or concerns of our marriage due to not wanting to cause issues in the relationship. And of course, long term, what does that do? It causes issues with the relationship. So it's kind of a no-win situation. I think, hindsight, I I would suggest that people talk way more openly than they think that they should. And of course, a lot of the people who don't are people like me who have attachment issues, where I felt like I was scared to cause ripples, so I didn't bring things up. And I think if some of these things may have been brought up earlier, um, I don't want to say it could have caused us less trouble, but it could have helped us to communicate better. Sadly, on the other side, I found over the years that she lied to me quite a bit. A lot of it was little stuff over the years, things that she lied about, little things that, and I don't have any perfect examples right now, little things that didn't even matter, like lying about things that that doesn't bother me. Well, I know it bothers you. You told me before that it bothers you, or about talking to other men and or other things with other people, uh, and and I found out about some of it and didn't say anything about it, and that's my fault. I should not have done that. I should not have let it go. Um, like I said, I have attachment issues, so there's not much I can do about that. I'm not a lying type person. If I do, it's probably because it's something to do with me being afraid of something. It's not something where I'm lying to get something that I want. It's not me lying to hide something that I've done. So that's not, and to me, that wasn't an issue for me at all. Okay, when somebody says you're too sensitive, or invalidate the feelings that you might have, or you're making a big deal out of nothing. Now, I'm sure that I've said a couple of those things here and there. Very rarely, though, it wouldn't have been a common thing. I know she had insecurities, and I know she had some issues, and I tried my best to not trigger those things. And most of the time, I didn't feel that I needed to say things like that. I never felt like I had to demean her. to get anything. I think that's a little crazy, to do that to somebody. Oh, you're too sensitive. Yes, there are times, absolutely, in anybody's life where somebody might be too sensitive about something. Um, but that's their perspective. That's what they feel. You don't discount what they feel. It may be too sensitive for you. That does not mean it's too, that doesn't mean that they're too sensitive by it. They could have issues in their past that forces a trigger on them, and that's fine. But that's not, I don't believe that that's something that I did, and she didn't do it to me either. I don't think that was an issue. So as far as gaslighting, I don't think that whole, oh, you're too sensitive. Um, the invalidating the feelings, that was hit and miss. If you see my other videos, you know that my ex had bipolar, BPD, PTSD, ADHD. That's the main ones. Anyway, there were a lot of insecurities, and a lot. She had a lot of feelings, and I did my best to support her in all those feelings. Um, Now, there were absolutely some of them that I probably disagreed with, but I will never tell somebody that they aren't allowed to feel a feeling. I will never tell someone that they need to hide a feeling. I will tell someone, and this is the hard part, and this is the mean part, just because you have a feeling doesn't mean that everybody in this world is going to care that you have that feeling. Your family, your friends, your family might, they probably will. But somebody on the street, they're not going to care about your feelings. They're just not. They don't. They're not invested in the relationship with you. Okay, the next thing, someone would say, "I'm only doing this because I care about you." I can't ever think of ever saying that, unless it was like a joke about, you know, she dared me to jump in the cold water or something silly, something really silly like that. I don't. I never fished for validation. I never fought for. I never tried to dig for that sort of thing, and I don't really. I didn't feel the need to. I loved her because I loved her. I didn't need. I did things for her because I enjoyed seeing her happy. That sort of thing. And I don't ever recall her saying that either. So I don't think that's an issue with either one of us. Was. It's over now. Um, I never said that. Okay, this is a big one, and I think this happens in every relationship at different times. Um, Basically, and this is what came up at our hearing last week. She said, "You told me when we started this divorce that you would keep the cat until I got a place, and then I'll come and take it." I honestly do not remember saying that. I don't, and and that's what I said. I said I do not recall saying that, because I was asking for custody of the cat because my son wants to live here, and I love the cat, and I know she doesn't think that I do, but I developed a lot of relationship with it over the couple of years that we've had it, and then of course since my wife left, it's been like a therapy kitty for me, and she's calmed down, and everybody was kind of happier. But it happens. So in front of the lawyer, she goes, "Oh, you're gaslighting me," and I'm like, I okay, I disagree with that, but well, you're lying. You said that. And I said, "Well, you're welcome to believe that. You're welcome to believe what you like." And she got red faced, pissed, angry, enraged. And that's when she said I was gaslighting her. Now, ladies and gentlemen, because you sorry, because you disagree with somebody, I realize that this is a trigger. They try to get you to the gaslighting person tries to get you to question what you remember. Okay, it happens. People forget things. I didn't do this. This wasn't something I did all the time. I could probably count on one hand how many times that she brought something up that I couldn't remember saying. 5 times, maybe in 15 to 18 years. So I don't think you can call that gaslighting. I think that's an average. random amount of times, that would happen. And I would guess at least the same amount of times she misrecalled or didn't recall saying something. And of course, a lot of that has to do with her conditions and her medications and things like that. A lot of times for hers were very small things, or she would remember things differently than I believed they happened or were said. And I think some of that became some of our end time issues. Like she believed that I made promises for things that then I later refused to do, and I don't think that happened that way. Chances are I said, hey, if we can do this, and then this happens, and then this happens, we can look at doing that. And then for whatever reasons, the things didn't come to happen the way it happened. For instance, moving away or moving somewhere, um, something like that. Things didn't happen that were supposed to lead up to that sort of thing, and that's why it didn't happen. Well, to the other person, I get it. Well, you said this was going to happen, and you lied. Well, from my perspective, that's not exactly how it happened. So that I think that happens sometimes in any relationship, but it's not in our relationship. I don't think it was something that was constant. It really wasn't. It was once in a while, a reasonable amount of time, not something where it was monthly, weekly, or even yearly. I mean, honestly, it was really far apart. Okay, here's one. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Somebody says that. Um, I heard that quite a bit from her, actually, uh, a lot, and I get that. Women hide their anger. They don't hide it very well usually. They tend to get passive aggressive. They tend to just shut down. They stop talking to you. They'll withhold. Okay, first of all, I don't like the whole idea of withholding sex. I think I've even heard psychologists saying that, and I disagree that that is a problem with women and or men. If somebody is upset with you, they're not going to be in the mood to have sex with you. Of course, they're not withholding it like in that situation if they're mad with you. That's not the same thing. They're not using it as a weapon. They're pissed, so they're not going to have sex with you. That makes sense to me. If it doesn't make sense to you, more power to you. If you have hate sex, have at it. Have a good time. But anyway, back to that. I'm not angry. She would ask me if I was angry a lot, and I get this. And a lot of times, men are able to internalize anger um, down to a point where it doesn't bother them anymore. And I would do that a lot. And over the years, I've thought about it, and I've thought about, well, maybe that's a problem. Maybe it just stews in my system. And for me, it really didn't. I might be upset about something, but usually hours down the road, days down the road, I realized it wasn't a big deal, and I just forget about it, or I just put it on a shelf somewhere and go, okay, if that happens a whole lot, then maybe we got a problem. If it just happens once in a while, it's not a big deal. So I'm very, 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 very slow to anger, and I always have been, compared to the rest of my family, especially. Um, I usually do the time I rarely ever, if ever, got angry at my wife, at my ex. I just I just didn't. I had a lot of patience with her. The only times, even when we fought, it wasn't really fighting like angrily. It was more miscommunication, communication problems. I would be upset because she brought something up that I didn't realize was a problem, and it was more of a sadness than an anger. So anyway, I want to move on to the next thing. Um, this one's nasty. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Well, I absolutely 100% never said that. The only time, and I didn't even give her full credit for this. The first time we were married for about 2.5, 3 years, and she left, and she did some stuff during that time. Even after that, when she decided she wanted to come back, I did not give her 100% of the credit for that first marriage failing. I knew I did things wrong, and I will always have things that I do that I wish I could go back on. But there were definitely times over the years where she blamed me for things. She would blame me for her depression at different times. She would tell me that I was the next time that I was the only thing stopping her from committing suicide. Um, and then, weeks later, she would tell me something's my fault again. I honestly couldn't. I felt like I couldn't win, and that's partially the bipolar. That's the BPD, those kind of things. So that's not. I don't see that a lot. I don't think she blamed me for everything. She knows she did wrong. She knows I did wrong. In the end, I think it just came down to what she wanted was different than what I was building with her, in life. And that's sad, but it is what it is. Okay, the next one. You're broken. That's effed up. Like I can't even imagine telling somebody that. My ex had, like I said, all those issues, diagnoses, and I still never told her she was broken or wrong or wasn't built right or anything like that. That's ridiculous. I can't believe people would say that to somebody that they actually loved. That to me is one of those horrible things. I do realize there may have been weird things that I may have said that made her feel that way, but I think a lot of times it was she felt that way. She would tell me, "Oh, I feel like I'm a burden." No, you're not. You're not a burden. You're not a burden. You're doing what you can. You're doing the best you can. You're doing great. We're doing this together. We're a team. Um, so that I just never, wow, I can't even imagine telling somebody they're broken and it's like I'm the only one that can fix you. That's ridiculous. If you're doing that to somebody, you deserve a special place in hell. And I don't even believe in hell. Here's another one, almost the same. Nobody likes you, or nobody wants to be around you. Like you're just a pain in the ass. Nobody likes to be around you, dude. If you're telling people that, why are you with them? You're either you either don't want to be with them or you're trying to manipulate them. I would never say that to a person. She never said that to me. Uh, I can't even imagine saying that. That's another one that blows my mind that people can say something like that. Next one on the list, you're petty or you're being childish. This kind of goes back up to the you're too sensitive. Very similar things. I pulled some of these from some different lists online, so that some of them overlap a little. I never ever told her she was petty or childish. The only things that I think that could have been, and I smirk about this a little bit because it was mostly cute at the time. Way back when she was probably, I don't know, 26, there was a high school kid working at a store. The store doesn't even exist anymore, but he called her ma'am, and that just ate her up for weeks afterwards. And I thought that was so funny. It was I can't believe he called me ma'am. I'm barely older than him and all this stuff. And I didn't think anything of it. And that's one of those things like that might eat away at a woman, or man, doesn't matter, at one person. And the other person just kind of giggles about it. And I giggled about it. Comment if you think that that was unacceptable. I thought that was kind of funny. It's like, well, I mean, he's a kid. He's working at a store. You're obviously older than him. He's trying to be polite. That's all. So while it's not really saying you're petty or you're childish, it was a little bit. Other than that, or that sort of thing on a rare occasion, that really never came up. I can't imagine, and I'm fairly sure she never did it either. The only time I can think of that she might have done it to me is when we talked about how I responded to communication when we would sit down and have talks with her because I was bad about it. I did a short the other day. I deflect. I just did some stuff like that because hey, guess what? I'm a dude. I'm an asshole. Like sometimes I had to learn a lot over the years how to process sitting down and talking to somebody about things that you really don't want to talk about. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work. With my big white eye. So I think that's where a lot of men and probably a lot of women also fail in those conversations. But I don't. And she might have said, "Well, grow up," that sort of thing, or I realize you. This is one thing she did actually say. I realize that you grew up in a certain way, but now you're an adult and you're deciding to continue to be that way. Well, to me, that's sort of like saying you're childish. That to me was not, it wasn't really being fair to me. But I also understand it because she was trying to talk about the things that upset her or things that she had concerns over in our relationship. And I mean, honestly, I didn't want to hear the problems, right? Who does? And I get it. And usually it would take me a minute. I would kind of freak out for a minute in my head. I might say something. I might get up and go get a drink of water and come back. And I know that looks bad. I'm gonna get up, walk in the other room, and kind of shake my head. And she's just thinking, "What the fuck? He's just walking away. Are you seriously just getting up and walking away from me?" And I realized that. But sometimes, like when bad stuff, like physically, it's like, "Oh my god, I need a drink of water." And then once I got my drink of water, I come back, I sit down, and we continue the conversation. So I still tried. I just sometimes didn't have good luck with that. The next one on the list, you can't take a joke. Very similar to your petty, your childish, all those. I felt that way sometimes with her because she had so many insecurities, but I never said it to her. I would never. Why would you purposely put somebody down for their insecurities? Like that's fucking mean on purpose. I will not say that I never did it without thinking or by accident. I'm sure that happens sometimes. Absolutely. Um, was it gaslighting? No. It was just me reacting in a fucking bad way, right? Yes, absolutely. It didn't happen constantly. It didn't happen all the time. Some people, she would say, "Well, I don't like that guy because he jokes about, he said a word that bothers me." I'm like, okay, I get that. Everybody has their own opinion on what they think's funny. Well, I could say that, just like I just did. And that to me, to her, that was like an attack on her. I'm not supporting her by not liking the same comedian. And that's not fair. That's not fair to anybody. And it is what it is. However, what it does is over the years, if one person in the relationship starts deciding, well, I don't like this type of thing anymore. And the other one's like, it doesn't bother me either way. It may not be funny to me. I don't like when people use derogatory terms. There's still a lot of old comedians. Hell, there's some new comedians that talk about stuff, and it's like, dude, we don't talk about that anymore. And usually, I don't watch them. I don't go out and actively complain about them. I just, they're not my, they're not really my kind of joke. So I don't do it anymore. Sorry, my nose is getting a little stuffed up. But my significant other would actively like I hate them. I don't like them. I don't want to talk. I don't like them. I don't want to ever see them. And if you don't also dislike them, then we have a problem. And it's like that's really not fair. I'm just very open to things. I I don't I don't want to fight about them. I just don't want to. I just won't go to that comedian again. There were comedians that I used to listen to, from the '90s. And then I go back and watch him now, and I'm like, it's not really funny anymore. I might have thought it was funny when I was, 18 years old. It's just not anymore. It's just not how the world is anymore. And yes, we all learn, we all grow. Uh, so anyway, the next thing on the list: if you really loved me, you would blah blah blah. Never would I say that ever, and that would piss me off to no end if somebody did that to me. Like I feel like she may have said that a few times, but I don't think it was like a hard like if you loved me, you'd go fight that guy. It wasn't anything like that. It was, oh, if you loved me, you would, I don't know, probably something in the bedroom, or go get me a Coke from the concession stand, something like that. If you love me, which I really don't think either of those fits into this thing. So gaslighting, no, I don't think that's ever a thing. If it happened, it was probably just joking, and it is possible that there were minor manipulations from on her part, but I absolutely never said something like that. If you really loved me, to me, with my attachment styles and my love languages, and I've learned over the years that people say this is my love language. It's not black and white, and I think that's kind of where we had an issue. She always believed that mine was acts of service, and that was, acts of service was like 50%, and then like touch was like 40%, and then the other two were like 5%. So like I really had two, and I think a lot of people have that, and people don't notice, people don't pick it up. They try to handle one thing in their head at a time and try to remember that for 20 years of a marriage or what have you. Some people never do those love languages. Some people disagree with the whole idea of them. I get it. It's fine. It can help. It can help. I believe it can help you at least a little bit to learn what your partner is looking for. What I think we forget, and I think that happened with me and my ex, is we forget that someone's love language isn't just what they want to feel loved. It might also be what they are putting out to you. And we need to understand when someone is trying, when they are pushing out love in the way that they are familiar with, in the way that they know how. And I wish I could do 100 videos on this, because I think that my 20-year-old kid brought that up to me after our divorce started, and it blew my mind. I'm like, I didn't even fucking think of that. And I can't believe I didn't. And I don't know. It was probably in the book that we read. It was probably in one of our therapy sessions, but it blew my mind. I'm just thinking, why didn't we talk about that? Why didn't we, you know what I mean? You need to actively think about what that other person is doing to see that they do love me. They're showing it in this way. But I also understand that in order to be loved, we do need the majority of it in our love language. So that is what it is. Um, the next thing, they try to tell you what you are feeling. I never really tried to do that. I think if anything, because of my ex-wife's issues, it was super hard for me to understand her feelings, and I hated that I wasn't able to. I hated that nobody is going to be able to. You can't, unless you've been through it, and I hope that multiple people in a relationship don't have this. Unless you've been through it, you don't know what's going through somebody's head when they feel so hopeless that they feel like giving up life. And I'm so sorry if my ex ever sees this. I'm so sorry that I could not understand that. I could support the best I could, but there's I can't I can't feel your feelings. You know what I mean? I wish I could. I could try. Uh-oh. I got somebody stopping in for a second. I'm going to shut my door real quick. Okay. Now they won't step in on me. I have a little recording sign that I put up. Um, okay. The next thing on the list, I got to get through this a little faster. So the next thing on the list is deflection. I am absolutely guilty of this. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think a lot of it was due to my fears of being uncomfortable when she would sit me down, and or hell, sometimes we would both be sitting in a room and I'd be playing on my computer and she'd be on hers, and she'd say, "Hey, I need to talk to you about this," and it would just be like a bomb, like what, like a sniper hit me, what, and stuff like that. Anyway, so I was bad at deflecting, bringing up something else. Well, in my head, it was okay. If you're going to bring up a thing that bothers you, I'm also going to bring up a thing that bothers me. Now, that is to say, I wasn't trying to say, I don't want to talk about the thing you want to talk about. It was more of a, okay, if we're going to talk about this, let's also talk about this. And sometimes they were related. A lot of times I felt like they were related. And I know what that would feel like being defensive to another person. So I get it. I get it. I did the deflection way too much. I also do not believe that it was actively gaslighting. It was, I think deflection is a common and normal thing that people do. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it is a common thing that people do when they're scared or are afraid of how the relationship may be affected. So she was definitely also guilty of that on occasion. So similar to deflection is shifting the blame. I know she, like I just said, I believe she felt like I was trying to shift the blame when I would bring up something also. And a lot of times I don't feel like it was shifting the blame. I understand how she feels like it would have been. I just didn't want to bring things up unless there was a problem. So if it coordinated with the time that she had a problem with me or with the relationship, then I would also say, okay, well, while we're talking, let's talk about this as well. Okay, so the next thing, this is away from the things that people say and more about just things. Somebody said online, if you felt like you needed to record things to because the person was constantly lying about things, to basically replay it back to them. I don't think my ex felt this way for the vast majority of our time, but she journaled off and on. And I think that was more for herself. I wish she would have done it consistently, but she didn't. She would do a little here, a little there when she felt good, when she felt bad. Kind of like when people stop taking medicine when they feel like they're doing better. Well, that's fine, but journaling is not the same thing. It's not the same as not taking your medicine. So I felt like I should have recorded things, and that's sad. But I don't think it was because she was trying to lie to me. I think it was because she forgot a lot of things. I think some of it was selective forgetfulness of things that were said, some things that were said to me, some things that she did to me over the years that were terrible, horrible things that I just forgave her about. Um, and I'm not going to go into those. There may be some in other videos, but I'm not going to go over that right now. Okay. Don't take responsibility for words or actions. Usually, after a disagreement, I'm sure I'm guilty of this on occasion, but there were absolutely times where I did not feel as though I had done anything wrong and that the feelings or things I brought up were valid. Now, I read the Stop Walking on Eggshells years ago, and I learned that, especially when people have BPD, they will have a really hard time accepting that they are wrong. And there will be times where I and when you, if you're in this situation where you do have to stand up for yourself, like you know what I mean. You can say, "Look, I understand that you feel that way, but I do not feel that I did anything wrong in this situation," and that will piss them off. Um, and that's also a narcissist thing. And do I think she's a narcissist? No. Do I think she has some of the traits? Absolutely. More likely, those traits are overlapping with her bipolar or BPD or PTSD, anxiety, ADHD, pick one. So I don't think that she meant to do a lot of them. I don't think she meant to do a lot of the bad things she did to me. Um, but they happen, it happens. So let's see, the next one on the list. Make someone feel negative about themselves. I tried not to let that happen. I tried to not make her feel negative about herself. I would say 99.999% of the time, I was successful at not doing that. There were definitely times where I didn't mean to and made her feel bad about herself, but not a consistent thing. So, okay, I'm running out of battery here, so we're going to wrap it up. Many of these things on this list literally make me sick to my stomach just thinking about doing them to somebody. I couldn't tell somebody, you're not good enough, or if you loved me, you would do this. That to me is just that blows my mind. I can't even imagine somebody saying it. That's sick. I'm sorry, but if that's something that you do, you need to talk to a therapist. They probably need to talk to a therapist. You probably need to get out of that situation. Uh, one last thing that I want to talk about before I wrap it up. I realize now, after the fact, that I've talked to my therapist and other people and other therapists and psychologists, that she made me question my own reality of my emotional intelligence and my empathy. When in reality, I think that was her lack of empathy with me. Um, she told me lots of times over the years that I couldn't understand her or other people. And like I said earlier, there were some feelings that she had that I could not understand. But I learned about all of her conditions. I worked with her the best I could. I forgave her. I took those times that were really horrible and put those in little boxes and put them off to the side and said, this is not who she is. I can forgive that. But I had so many boxes that I could have built a damn house out of it. And I'm being told all over the place, you can't live with somebody with all those conditions and not have great emotional intelligence. I know she doesn't feel like it because she felt unheard or she felt sad or what have you, but I absolutely have high emotional intelligence. Just the idea that I'm making these videos, that I'm learning about possible issues that I've got, I think that speaks to itself. Um, she told me lots of times that it's like I didn't have any emotions, I didn't have any feelings. Well, if you're a man, anything like me, you know that that's not true. We hold our emotions, and many times what seems like they're bigger than a house. You know what I mean? And we're trying to hold them into this tiny little area, and we listen to music that's you know sad or hate, rage. You know what I mean? Because we try to get that out in calmer ways, I guess, through music, through things like that, maybe through therapy. I would suggest anybody who's having issues like that to go ahead and start therapy as soon as you can. I know it costs money and it sucks, and a lot of people think that therapy is not worth it. But anyway, that led me to believe in my mind that a lot of things were my fault in her happiness and her unhappiness, and that's just not true. I wasn't responsible for her happiness and unhappiness. That was inside her the whole time, and a lot of that came. And I know it's a mean way to say it, baggage, but she had a lot of what you could call baggage from growing up. A lot of issues with her family, with boyfriends, with getting pregnant very young. She didn't have that time in her life when she could go out and have fun and party. She grew up too fast, and between that and all these other issues, there were a lot of things, and I took all that on in a way. You know what I mean? I have that what you call kind of the white knight syndrome. I'm reading about now. I thought, well, I can help. I can help her. I love her so much. I can help her, but you can't. There are some things that there is no cure for. You can help this person. You can love this person. You can support this person. You can be the best provider that you can be. 20 years down the road of your marriage, if they just change who they are, because of life changes. There's nothing you can do about that. It's sad, but I realize that there's nothing I can do about that. I still compare people to her. I still, when I pick up things at the grocery, would she like that? I don't think she would eat that. I don't know. Whatever. Like it's only been a few months, but and I'm sure that's going to go on for years, and it's going to take me a lot of therapy and a lot of working through things. There's going to be a lot of things that I've said in some of my videos that maybe demonize her. I don't hate her, and I never will. And I know she's probably pretty hateful of me right now because we have to go through court case and I'm going for custody, and I have to bring up things that are not flattering, that are not nice, and it makes me sad to do it, but I'm not doing it to make her happy. That is not my prerogative anymore, and I'm not happy about it, but it's all about my son and what I think is best for him. And somebody with all of her issues needs to be able to work on those issues without too much hindrance. And maybe having my son there half the time or more of the time would help her, but I don't think it will. And that is what it is, and that'll come down to the court case. I may win, I may not. It's not about winning. It's about trying to make the safest, calmest um, place for my son. One of the things that we disagree on is the schooling. She wants to take him to another school that's nearby, that's a better school, and I get it. All of his friends are at this school. He'll be in sixth grade. I'm kind of up and down on that. It's kind of a hassle to take him to another school, and he definitely wants to live with me. So anyway, I'm off subject. I'm gonna let it go. I gotta get off here. This is probably one of my longer videos. I don't know who cares about gaslighting, but you've heard me go through all this stuff. I don't believe that I was gaslighting her. None of this was consistent enough. None of it was the same things over and over. It was rare occasions over the years. Same thing with her back at me. The only things, like I said, towards the end, that I think she did make me feel like I couldn't have feelings. I didn't have feelings, and that was a long term thing. Was it gaslighting? Maybe, but I doubt it. So leave me your thoughts. If you're a psychiatrist or a therapist, absolutely leave me your thoughts. Leave me your comments. None of this stuff is clinical. I am not a doctor. Not a doctor. Uh, I'm just on here giving my thoughts, talking to people. Hopefully, I can help somebody. All right, everybody, have a good day. Thanks.